Aloha and welcome to the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center's September An Afternoon with the Author. We are so glad that all of you have joined us today for our talk with Lee Cataluna, author and playwright. It has been a wonderful week for us here at the center, and again, we're just so thrilled to have all of you. An Afternoon with the Author series is a series where we invite authors from across the state to come on and talk about their books, a little bit of a history behind everything that went into making the book, and just a really nice talk story. So again, we're really thrilled to have all of you here today. Before I introduce our speaker, I know we have a lot of new listeners on the call with us today. So I wanted to go over just a few quick housekeeping items. Number one, this is being recorded in webinar mode, which means we can't see or hear you, but you can see and hear us. So just know that your privacy is protected. And this will be up on our Nisei Veterans Memorial Center YouTube channel in about a week. So we encourage you to watch it again and share it with your friends and colleagues. We will be accepting questions throughout the talk, so be sure to fill in the question and answer at the bottom of your screen there. We will get to as many as we can. We actually got a lot of questions in already ahead of time via email. We also want to let you know that you will be receiving a weekly Wednesday email update from us. You can unsubscribe at any time, but this is just a way for us to stay in touch with you and let you know what's going on here at the center. So we hope you stay in touch with us. We could not offer the programs that we do or whether it's the Afternoon with the Author, our exhibits here at the center, or our archives. So we want to thank our sponsors who make this possible. A big mahalo to HouseMart, the Central Pacific Bank Foundation, VIP Food Service, Maui Health Systems, Maui Sons and Daughters of the Nisei Veterans, Abbey Carpet of Maui, Service Rentals, our Azumi Brothers, Munikio Haraga, TJ's Warehouse, Say Design, Maui Disposal, Puro Water Specialty Company, Mid-Pacific Pest Control, RT Tanaka Engineers, and the Maui News. So a big mahalo to all of them. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Miss Lee Cataluna. Lee Cataluna's recent works include What the Stars See at Night, commissioned by the Lahola Playhouse in 2020, and Ke Kula Keiki Ali'i, Royal School, co-written with Moses Goods for Honolulu Theater for Youth for the 2021 season. Her plays have been workshopped and read and produced in theaters in New York, Los Angeles, and all over Hawaii. And her book, The Folks You Meet in Longs, has been in print for 15 years and is now in its 9th printing, actually. It was named by Honolulu Magazine as one of the 50 essential books about Hawaii. She received the Cades Award for Literature in 2004 and served at the Keebles Chair in Creative Writing at Iolani School in 2005. She has become a Metro columnist at the Honolulu Star Advertiser for 5 years and the Honolulu Advertiser for 10 years before that. And most recently, she has moved over to Civil Beat. Cataluna was born at Maui Memorial Hospital in 1966. Her father, Donald, worked for Wailuku Sugar, and her mother, Dorothy, was a 4-H leader, substitute teacher, and a friend to all. She graduated from Baldwin High School in 1984 and got her BA from the University of the Pacific in Stockton, California in 1988. She has a Master's of Fine Art in Creative Writing from UC Riverside. So please help me give a very warm Maui welcome to Maui girl, Lee Cataluna.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Wish I was there.
Oh, we wish you were here too. How's it going over there in with the lockdown?
I'm okay. I'm in East Honolulu in Niu Valley, which is, I guess, sort of the Wailuku of Honolulu. if there is one. So, this is my home away from home, I guess. But
Wow. Well,
happy to be here.
thanks so much for being here. And again, congratulations on the 9th reprinting of the book.
Thank you. I think that the center is responsible for this, actually. The 8th reprinting of the book was just like less than a year ago. And it usually is like every couple of years I get a notice from the publisher that they're doing another printing. But this one was fast. And I think it was all of you that I have to thank. So thank you.
Well, you know what? We will, it's all about the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center. And we only have a few copies of the book left, signed by you. So thank you very much. And congratulations on the new gig at Civil Beat.
Thank you. It's brand new. I've been there 3 weeks. I'm still learning the ropes, but it's nice to be as old as I am, and everybody knows how old as I am because I included my graduation year from Baldwin High School. But it's nice to be this age and still new at something, with a lot to learn. That's kind of, it's scary, the challenge, but it's cool.
That's wonderful. Well, we're happy that you're there, and we look forward to the Civil Beat emails that we get on Sunday mornings. So first of all, I can't tell you how many people have called the center, emailed the center, come up to us in person saying how much either the book changed their life, the book was the first book that they read when they came to Hawaii. We even had a gentleman call in who met you back in Pasadena many moons ago and still has the book that you gifted him. So you have a lot of fans on this call.
Oh, gosh.
And you've changed a lot of people's lives.
I do want to give a shout out to Mr. Marugaki, who I met in Pasadena. I think it was at Vroman's bookstore, or I think so. It was a bookstore in Pasadena. And we started talking about being from Maui and, growing up in Wailuku and all that. And I was there reading another book that I had written, and like an in-store reading. But he went to the counter and he asked for the Longs book, and they didn't carry it. And so they ordered it for him, but of course it would take a while to come. So I had the Longs book with me. So I said, here, just take my copy. And that was my lucky special copy that I had taken to readings for a couple of years. And it was lucky special because I found it at the Aloha Stadium swap meet in a bucket of, it said used books. And I thought, ooh, used books. I love those. What a shock and what a horror to find my books in there. So I grabbed every one of my own Longs books that were in this, like the discard bucket, bought them all, telling my husband, you have cash or what?
Right.
So that was one from the stash, and it had, I forget what the sticker was on the back. It was like, it looked like it was damaged, or maybe it came, I think it's the Department of Education, like maybe they threw it out or something. Anyways, I always carried that copy with me to kind of, keep it real, right? You hope for the New York Times bestseller list, you end up at Aloha Stadium swap meet in a bucket. But that's okay. And so I have another book that I've been using ever since. It was also from the Aloha Stadium swap meet bucket. It says, I don't know what it says on it. It was pulled off the shelf at some bookstore. I don't know why, but so that's my makeup. But I was very happy to give that book to somebody who actually wanted it. And
yes.
Mr. Marugaki triggered, I'm very sure, the first reprint of Longs just by asking. And so the bookstore made an order, which, kind of triggered the whole thing. So a lot of aloha and gratitude.
Wow, that's wonderful. And yes, he is on the call today.
Yay!
So, yay. So like I said, we've gotten a lot of questions in already, and people are doing questions right now. But the biggest question we have is, what inspired you to write this book?
It was it was a writing assignment that I gave to myself. I knew that I could write short pieces because I was writing short pieces. I had been working in TV, I'd worked in radio. And I knew I could write the way people, like I had voice, sounds bad, but I had voices in my head, I could hear the way characters spoke. So I knew how to do that, but I wanted to see if I could write a book. And I didn't know if I had the ability to carry a story across, 250 pages or whatever it was. So this was an intermediate step for me, to rely on the way I know I can make characters talk, to kind of connect them through a thematic element. But I wasn't so much worried about plot. You know, I hadn't really studied or conquered plot at that point. And so this was a test for me. This was a challenge to see if I could do something in print rather than, you know, something for broadcast or something for stage.
Right. Well, obviously it worked so well, you know, but, you know, as you're talking about the other things that you were doing, I think a lot of people think of your writing as a humorous. You did a lot of humorous writing as well, local humor. But I mean, if you read these stories, they're so poignant, and they sometimes have these really painful confessions. When you were composing this, was it a really conscious decision about where and how often to insert such moments? I mean, you really have a nice balance between all the stories, but
thank you.
How did you make that decision?
I had a lot of input. I just amassed this collection of monologues, and I knew I wanted them to be monologues because, again, my strength was, you know, I know how people like I can imagine. This is as a writing teacher, I give this assignment, like, imagine your coach, or imagine the person that scolds you the most, you know, and what would they say to you in this situation? And most people can go, oh, I know how to do that, and, you know, write the whole page. So I knew how to do the, like, individual voices. And I knew that I wanted to put them in a situation where they all needed something, right? I mean, that's sort of the heart of writing. You know, a character comes from what the character needs. So when you think of your character, you have to ask yourself, what does that person need? And it's usually two things, right? It's what they need immediately. Like, I need toothpaste, or I need a nap, or whatever. And then there's that deeper need. You know, I need acceptance. I need safety. I need love. I need, you know, hope, or whatever it is. So I started putting the stories together like that. And in some ways, the characters almost told me, you know, how their stories were. But a lot of them are voices from my childhood. You know, I was the new kid a lot, born on Maui, graduated from high school in Maui, but we also moved around. My dad was with Sea Brewer, so we lived on Kauai, and we lived in Ka'u on the Big Island. So I went to 9 different schools before I graduated from Baldwin. And so as a new kid, you listen a lot, yeah. And so I'm an eavesdropper and an observer. And I do think people talk that way, you know, and I do think it's a Hawaii thing. I think it's a Maui thing, you know, the jokes outside the funeral, you know, like, oh man, I'm going to miss him. Hey, remember the time, right? There's that little bit of that there, and you laugh and you cry. And, you know, there's that, right? The giggling in church,
Right.
you know, that kind of stuff. You know, we're complicated. We're complicated people. But I had amassed these monologues, and I had a lot of input. I worked with Darryl Lum at Bamboo Ridge, who is the founder of the press. So he gave me a lot of input. And also this play, or this book, before it was actually published, it was actually sort of happening at the same time, but the theater got to it first. And so it was a play. And so I got to work with the director, who at that time is Keith Kashiwada, who basically decided on the order of the monologues in terms of, like, he had a structure, you know, sort of building, you know, building tension, and where there should be release and that kind of stuff. So I had outside help.
That's fantastic. You know, you were talking about need and what people need. And in the introduction of the book, it says, you know, Long's is where people go when they need. On the shelves, you find relief, distraction, healing. And if there's no product for what ails you, there's often a kind clerk, an intuitive fellow shopper, or a bit of overheard conversation that is enough to keep you going. And I mean, that's so poignant. And, you know, today, as we're afflicted with this whole COVID and stay at home, I think we need more than more than ever, and your characters really share that. So, you know, you were talking about the different characters and things that you overheard. A lot of people want to know, are these fictional characters? Is it a little bit of everything, or there's some true stories in there as, you know, as well? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Let's see. Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. And at some point, I just started collecting these monologues, and I didn't have an idea how to put them together. I mean, Longs was not the organizing theme initially. And then I was actually in the Kahului Longs, the one at Maui Mall. And I saw the guy who brings the flowers. He was there, and he's an actual guy, and I don't know his name, but his family knows that I've written about him because they're like, oh, that's my dad. And he would do that. You know, he would come in and he would bring pikake or gardenia, and he would go right down the row. And I was there when it happened, you know, and I watched one of the cashiers like run from the back. She brought him coffee, and they were so happy to see him. And he was like a sweet little flirt with all the cashiers. They all knew him. They all either had a little vase where they would go to put his, you know, they knew he was coming. They're going to put, and he was like apologizing, like, so sorry, I don't have papaya today or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these stories happen in Longs. That was easy. So that there also is a piece in there that kind of brings the house down when it's performed, and the character's name is Kurt Lum, and that is
right.
From my friend Curtis Lum, who tells this story about having gastric distress while driving over the Like on Oahu, and where there's no place to turn off, and it being desperate. And that story is almost verbatim the way he told it to me. We were coworkers at the Honolulu Advertiser, and he told me this story, and I was just like, I need to write that down. Like, can I have that story? And he goes, yeah. And I said, tell it to me again. So I just wrote it down, and it was just so funny. I mean, it's scatological humor, but I think very relatable to a lot of people. And I love that he never used any dirty language at all. You know exactly what he's talking about, but he never uses, you know, any word to indicate poop or diarrhea or something. So, but that is a true story. That is actually his name. And times when, oh my goodness, times when this play has, when Longs as a play has been produced on Oahu, I always invite him to opening night, and he always stands up and takes a bow and says, yep, that was me. That was me. Except it wasn't lemon chicken. The piece starts out, I blame you the lemon chicken, but actually it was spicy pistachios, which is not as funny as lemon chicken. So that's why I changed it.
No, I mean, spicy pistachios, you know, going in,
right. You're in trouble.
It's not good
you need
news.
To be home. Yeah, you need to be home. Oops.
So, you know, do you have any favorite characters in the book? I mean, whether they were the characters that, you know, then went into the play. I mean, are there any that you feel really drawn to more than others?
Georgie Cam, she's the Mrs. Longs, or she fantasizes about being Mrs. Longs.
That is such a great story.
Yeah, I think that's probably the one that's closest to me. You know, somebody who, you know, she's not a sad person, but she has these dreams of being this like benevolent queen, I guess. You know, if she owned Longs, well, she would share Longs. And yeah, I always like hearing that one. That's the one I usually read if I'm invited to a class or whatever to read. And I kind of like that balance. You know, she's not someone who's upset with or dissatisfied with her life, but she has these dreams,
right,
you know, of being able to touch people and help people and be this, you know, this person in the community who's gonna bring you in and give you tuna sandwich. You know? Right.
You really use it as a way to give back. For those who maybe haven't read that story yet, could we ask you to
Sure.
to read it?
Sure, sure. There's no dirty words, so I feel okay about that.
Yes.
Just because there are some, and I've had regrets. But okay, I will read that now. So this is Georgie Cam, who often doesn't buy anything. I had this dream. It wasn't like a dream when you're sleeping, more like the kind of dream when you're not sleeping, just laying in bed next to your good-for-nothing husband, listening to him fart and snore. Fart, snore. Fart, snore. Like anybody could sleep through that noise and that stink. So I'm lying there, not really daydreaming because it's night, but not dreaming because I cannot sleep in that Iraqi war zone, fart, snore coming in like bombs. In this dream, I'm Mrs. Longs. I'm the same me, but I'm married to the man, Mr. Longs. Not the brother or one of the sons, mind you, the first one, the first Mr. Longs. We live upstairs in one of the Longses, up above the pharmacy, where we can look out the glass windows at all the shoppers when we're walking from the living room to the kitchen. Hello, little shoppers. Are all you happy people happy today? Oh, look, sweetheart. That's what I call Mr. Longs. I call him sweetheart when we in our upstairs above the pharmacy house, but never when we in the store. When we in the store, I call him Mr. Longs, just like his employees. But at home, when we're looking out the glass at all our aisles and all our shoppers, I tell him, sweetheart, look at all our Longsness. And I would be happy. I would never need to leave the house, no need. Only time I go out now is to go Longs. I would have everything right there. Go right downstairs for cereal, go right downstairs for shampoo, right downstairs when I need coffee. But I would always get dressed first. I would never go downstairs in nightgown and curlers. And I would always pay, the real kind pay, with money through the checkout line, not sign one paper and walk out the back. Mr. Longs wouldn't like that. And me, I like keep Mr. Longs happy. I treat Longs with respect. I know that Longs isn't mine. It doesn't belong only to me, not even to Mr. Longs. Longs is for everyone. And if ever had hurricane or flood or whatnot, I would help Mr. Longs with whatever he need. We would bring all our employees and all our customers inside the store, let them have anything they like, take them upstairs to our upstairs Longs house and give them tuna sandwich and tell them, everything's gonna be all right. Don't worry, don't worry. We always have Longs. Longs will provide. Longs would be like the richest kingdom, and Mr. Longs is the wise, noble king. And me, I would be the queen, the good queen of Longs. And I dream about my life in Longs until one extra loud snore or fart wake me up all the way, and I think, well, at least I know I can visit Longs tomorrow. Gotta go get Gas X and breathing strips for him, nose clip and earplugs for me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Virtual clapping. That's so sweet. Thank you for sharing. So, you know, with the acquisition, of course, of Longs by CVS, we've had a couple people ask, do you feel like there's been any change in Longs? Could Mrs. Longs still want to be Mrs. Longs, even though it's now CVS?
I mean, I think everybody knows that it's changed. I don't know if I could name how it has changed or point out how it's changed, because some things haven't. But it's changed. It's not the same. And in that way, this book has become nostalgic, you know, a little bit. And Hawaii has changed, right? But some things remain. And I think one of the things that has worked in the monologues as a collection, you know, individually, each person, each character is looking for the thing that they need, but sort of collectively, you get this understanding that there's compassion there, that there's community there. There's that Nadine character who's sort of the thread all the way through, who's like, how can I help you? What do you need? Did you find everything you need? And I think that stuff remains. I mean, I need to believe that that stuff remains, but I do believe that that stuff remains, that has not changed.
Right. Well, and as you talk about nostalgia, before we started, you were sharing your father's shirt.
Yes.
Talk about
Yeah.
how it used to be.
So my dad worked at Wailuku Sugar 4 different times. He was always with C. Brewer, but they worked, my parents were at Wailuku Sugar. They lived near the dairy in Waihe'e. I guess when they were first married, so that would have been like 1961, around there. And then after that, they lived in Na'alehu on the Big Island. And then they came back to Maui, and that's when I was born. So that was 66. And they lived in Waikapu, in one of the 3 houses that Mr. Chumley now owns. So first we lived in the first one. That's the house I came home to when I was born. And then we moved to next door to the second one. And then we moved when I was 3. We came back when I was at Wailuku Elementary. So that would have been like early 70s. And we lived on High Street, right next to Wailuku Elementary, in what is, I believe, the Tokeshi's house. And then we moved again. And then when we came back, see, my dad was promoted each time. And so when we came back, when I was at Iao, my dad was manager at Wailuku Sugar. And so he was there all while I was in high school. So I think this is from when, this was earlier. This might have been like in the 70s, but here's a shirt that I found, belonged to my dad. And they had a plantation baseball team. I guess all the different plantations would play against each other. This is my dad's shirt. Right. And so, you know, if you remember Wailuku back in the day, this was the logo on the trucks. Yeah. So this is one of my treasures that I have.
That's a nice blast from the past.
Yeah, it has my dad. They even, so fancy, had my dad's name on the front. And I know he didn't play baseball, but that's okay. My dad was a cute guy, but I know he didn't play baseball.
Baseball was big. I mean, it still is, but you know, even our returning Nisei veterans, and when they were overseas, baseball was big. I'd like to pivot a little bit and talk about some of the other work that you've done. You've done some children's books, and I think you just came out with a new children's book. I mean, how is that going? What made you go to children's books?
I had a kid. I had a kid who's really creative, and I couldn't take him to my grown-up plays. In fact, I did take him to one play because he loves theater. He's I think he's going to end up in film, or he's going to be a director or an actor. But I remember taking him to one play, and during one scene, like make him turn, we sat up in the tech booth, and I made him turn and face the back wall and cover his ears and keep his eyes closed. And like, you can't see this. He's like, what am I missing? Shh. But you know, just because I had a child, I was reading a lot of children's books. Yeah, you know, wanted to jump in. I also taught at Iolani School for a while. I taught creative writing to the upper school, juniors and seniors. And one of the assignments that I gave was to write a children's book. And this was actually the last assignment of the semester, because it really involved putting all, we call it the elements of craft, right? Like the different pieces of writing. You have to put it all together in a children's book. Character, world creation, the setting, the language that you choose, the plot, you know, it all has to be condensed, and it has to, I mean, kids are great critics, right? They will tell you immediately whether your thing is going to fly or sink. Oh, I just mixed my metaphors. But anyways, fly or crash, sink or swim. And so my students are writing really, really great, really imaginative children's books. And I thought, I want to jump in. So I started writing right along with them. And also I was involved with, I have been involved with Honolulu Theater for Youth, which is Hawaii's only professional theater company, in that they have a company of actors that are paid and receive benefits. So
that's fantastic.
It's great. So I've loved working with them, and it's been a wonderful learning experience. And writing for kids, it's difficult. It is difficult.
What's difficult about it?
Like I said, they're honest. If they don't get it, they don't assume that it's because, oh, this is above me. This is so literary. It's above. They're just like, I don't get it. It's bad. They will tell you, and they're right. And they're right.
All right. So are your children also your critics?
Yeah, I just have my son, and absolutely. Yeah. I have him read things for me, or I read it to him. And he has a really wonderful, he's 14 now, so he's not little, but he has a really wonderful aesthetic that's all his own. And he's able to really articulate, things that just don't work, or things that, hey, you mentioned that, but you never really picked up on it. You probably should go to that. Don't lose it. You know? So he's been helpful.
So what was the most recent book you did, and when did that come out? I know that we have a copy here at Concha Preschool.
Yep. This is Ordinary Ohana.
Yeah.
And this came out, when did I do this? A couple years. It's been a couple years. I've forgotten that. I'm going to look right now. 2016. Yeah, 4 years. And it is in print.
It's a great book.
Thank you. It's I'm proud of this book because it has a life of its own, like the Longs book. This book has sort of lived beyond me, and has found its way into other places. And for example, I have been invited 3 times to read this book, this little children's book. See, it's real little, inside the prisons. Twice to Halava and once to the women's facility. And this is not the book that I thought I'd be reading to that particular audience, because it's a picture book, but it has a kind of resonance with the inmates in that facility, in those facilities, and has, each time I've been invited, I've gone, and it's sparked incredible discussions where I felt like, wow, I'm learning things that I would have never thought. That book also took me and the illustrator, who is Shane Gallarde, who's fantastic. We did a book tour in California, and we went to schools, but we also went to universities. And that was a really interesting experience, right? Whenever you speak at a university, you get really challenging questions.
Sure.
And so there I was reading my little children's book to college students and answering questions. I'm sorry?
I was gonna say, I think the message in the book, it resonates across age, and it has such a good message.
No, it's about inclusion, embracing diversity. And I think, it's ordinary Ohana. And if you look at the picture, that's nobody's ordinary Ohana, but that's an ordinary Ohana. Of course it is, right? I mean, we get to say who we love, and we get to say who our family is, right? The chosen family. So.
Right. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So when you're not writing children's books, and you're not doing plays and getting reprints of your other books, you are a journalist. And your columns, whether it's been the Honolulu Star Advertiser, the Honolulu Advertiser, and now Civil Beat, your columns range from being very observational to humorous to hard-hitting criticisms, especially with elected officials and government. So for you, would you rather be remembered as a humorist or a critic? Both? Is one easier than the other? Tell us a little bit about that.
My sweet spot as a writer is I love writing plays. And the reason why, I think, is, because it plays on my strengths. And that is, hearing people. Yeah, I'm a listener. And so when I can rely on that, it's fun for me. But also the other thing about playwriting is it doesn't stop with me. Yeah. It's a collaborative art. Putting a play up is the most collaborative art. You have the most art forms that come together, right? You have the writer, but you also have the director, and you have all the actors. But then you have like the set design, right? And the costumer and the makeup and music, if you're using music, choreography, right? And so that true collaboration of artists is the coolest thing. And I could do that all day, every day. And I would learn stuff, and it's amazing. It's amazing. Writing itself is lonely. It's a lonely thing. You're in your head, or at least I am. So I prefer playwriting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're doing the new play with Moses Goods.
Yes, another
So
Maui boy, Maui High
right.
School. Woohoo! Hey, Goods family.
His work is fantastic.
His work is amazing.
So tell us a little bit about that play.
It's Moses's play. It's his idea. It's his aesthetic. I am happy to sharpen the pencils and stand by the printer. He had this vision for a story about Kekula Keki Ali'i, which was the school established for the children, the Ali'i children, right? And so amazingly, Bernice Pauahi Bishop, Kamehameha the Fourth, Kamehameha the Fifth, Kalakaua, Lili'ua Kalani, Queen Emma, they were all students together. There were like 16 students. They were all students together. And so here's this play that takes back to when they were children. And when you think about the way children are taught today, even now, even during COVID, there's so much emphasis on, you guys, we're the adults and we don't quite understand what's going on. So you're going to have to make the future better for us, right? I mean, that is the message that we tell the kids, right? You guys got to do better than we do. You guys got to figure this out. You guys are going to lead us to a better. And that was what was put on these children, right? They were the future. All the hopes and, for Hawaii was on them. And so that's sort of the connection that Moses really had in his vision for this. It is a musical. The music is fantastic. It's all original. The play is to be performed in English and all in Hawaiian. So 2 different productions of the same. So we're talking about a cast that is bilingual. And sadly, like many productions had to be postponed because of COVID, right? Because
Sure.
you can't fill a theater right now. You can't fill a theater. But I helped on some of the research and some of the, I hadn't written with a partner before like this. And so it was a learning experience, I think, for both of us. But really, it's Moses's idea and vision. And I just was there to sort of do whatever he needed, and was really happy to be working with an artist of that caliber. He's an amazing person.
He's, we've seen his work over here at the Maui Arts and Cultural Center, and I'm sure that no matter what he does and what you do together is just going to be phenomenal. So hopefully the theaters will open back up. People talk about for artists, well, you could just do things on Zoom, but I think that for artists, you have to see it in person, and they have to feel that energy from the audience. Mm-hmm. It's tough.
Yeah, it is.
Do something like that for Zoom. With Zoom. So of course you're a Maui girl, and all of that. What Maui values? We call them the Nisei values, but they're the values of aloha, the Maui values. What values have you taken with you through your career in all that you do? Is there something that rises to the top when you think about Maui and Maui values?
There is, and this is not the typical answer, and so I'm going to try to weave my way through it, but I've always thought of Maui as having a very graceful kind of ambition. I think some places their ambition is hard-edged and competitive and sometimes bruising or cutting. I think some places there is no ambition and the ambition is, nah, stay like it is. Or, you know, why are you trying so hard? Or who do you think you are? And I think Maui has a very particular brand of ambition. There's probably a better word for it. I'm just not thinking about what it is, but it's more collaborative. It's more supportive. It's more encouraging. You know, I think you can, I think kids, I hope this is what it felt like for me. But I think kids growing up on Maui can have a dream and can find encouragement and support for that dream. You know, I think that doesn't always happen. And I think
that's a really good point.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah, I can, you know, I'm from Maui. Oh, I can't do it. You don't hear that. You're from Maui. Yeah, you can do it. And what's the next thing? Work hard. Don't give up. Yeah. So that's my answer.
No, that's good. And I love that, a graceful ambition. How lovely of a term. We have a couple of questions that came in.
Okay.
What advice would you give someone who yearns to be a playwright? And also, what advice would you give to someone who wants to be a journalist?
Well, to be a playwright, you have to see a lot of plays, which is easier now, right? A lot of theaters are doing their shows on Zoom or there's stuff on Netflix. Read a lot of plays. You know, they're pretty accessible. I've been told that you need to be in at least one play if you're going to write plays. So get that over with. I personally hate to be on stage. I did my one and like never again. But you know, you do need to know that. And I think try stuff out. I mean, that's the great thing about, many great things about playwriting, but you know, a play, you're not writing it into stone, right? You can change stuff. A book is not stone, but once it's printed, you know, you can't go, oops, and pull it back. But a play, you can. I mean, I've had experiences where I've rewritten like whole scenes between the first show in the morning and the second show in the afternoon.
Really?
Because, oh yeah, on the opening day, yeah, I've had things just go really bad, and you know, telling the director, please, can I fix that? Like, can I cut 2 pages and like fix some stuff? But that's good, right? That's good that the play can always evolve. So the writing of a play is that way too, right? You have your first draft and you try it out. And how do you try it out? I don't know. You find some friends. Mm-hmm. You know, you find some friends. Can you guys have friends at Maui? We can't have friends on Oahu, but
we can have small
friends.
We can have small amounts of friends. Yeah. And the small amounts of friends, they all have to wear masks. And it's so difficult, even when you're wearing the mask. I find it's hard to hear, it's hard to see, you know, it's hard to be friends with masks.
Yeah.
But it can be done.
But you know, that's a part of the development of a play, is to hear it. You have to hear it. And at first find friends who are gonna like support you. Like, don't find your judgy friend to read it for you. Find your friend who thinks that everything you do is fantastic. You want that person in the beginning, and you know, make dinner, maybe serve wine. If it's a comedy, serve wine, and hear it and work on it. Yeah, you know, and see, you know, the great thing about writing for kids is I can always go into a classroom, you know, ask a teacher, hey, can I come in and can you guys try this play for me? And so I do that. And for the students, they love having a, you know, real alive writer that they can criticize right there. Like, that's super fun for them. They get to practice all their literature skills. And for me, I get to hear the thing. In terms of being a journalist, well, I mean, you know, it's the places that hire now. Journalism is changing so dramatically.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. And the places, I mean, you need a college degree. Doesn't have to be in journalism particularly, or in communications. It can be, it can be specialized journalism. It can be political science. It can be biology. It can be business reporting or international reporting. And then usually like the last year of college, there are internships that get you into various newsrooms. And that's usually the way that people go.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that. We have a lot of people sending in questions, just saying hello. How is everybody? And then, have you ever thought of becoming a filmmaker?
I wrote, I've taken film classes. I wrote a film, a screenplay, I should say. And along the way, I have recognized that my role is as a writer. That's it. I don't direct. I don't act. That's for sure. I don't act. I mean, it took some trial and error to figure this out. I don't think visually. I talked about like I can hear the dialogue, but I don't see the scenes. I write with my ear. And so film is not a great fit for me. Mm-hmm. Like radio is okay because I can hear kind of what should go on. Yeah. And there's also, I have found that it's easier for me to get a play produced or a book published. That's a shorter obstacle path or obstacle course for me. And I just like it. I love the live nature of theater.
Right. Okay. Going back to the book and the character that you had mentioned before, Nadine, she just, flows through the book and she's the one who kind of takes care of everybody. What do you think Nadine would say about these COVID-19 times?
Oh, I think she would say, how can I help you? Or do you have everything you need? Or what do you need? She might even intuit that somebody needed something without even asking. She might say, hi, because she knows her customers, right? She's the person, she's very observant. She knows her customers. I think she would say that, we're going to be okay, but it's not just wishful thinking. We got to be smart and help each other.
That whole collaboration and the kindness between.
Yeah. And being observant, being observant, because some people don't want unsolicited help. So that's always a little like, I have a neighbor across the street that every morning I see, well, not every morning, but on trash mornings, I see her, struggling with her trash can. And I'm like, I got to help that lady. And my husband's like, she's going to hate you forever for thinking that she needs, I'm like, I don't know what to do. So unsolicited help. I'm like I'm waiting for the signal because I'll be there. I will help her. Like,
that little nod.
Yeah. Like, do you need anything? She'll probably come over and help me,
Right. A couple more questions and then we will gently end, and then I'd love to come back and maybe have you just end the talk with another reading, if you will. But before we do that, someone just asked, is there a difference in the voices that you hear as it relates to male and female? I mean, can you tell that one voice is, this would definitely be a male character. This voice has to be something manly versus female?
I don't know. I mean, I guess so. I don't know. That's a really interesting question. I haven't thought that way before. I don't know that I've ever changed the gender, like once I started writing someone, I don't know that I've ever decided, oh no, actually this was meant to be, a different gender. No, I mean, a lot of time I'm thinking of actual people that I know or people that I've heard. And so there's more of a fixed image in my mind.
Right.
and you know, and that image in my mind, and this is how a lot of writers talk about it, right? There are specific categories like age, like where they grew up, and not just Maui, but what part of Maui, because we all know you talk different if you live in Pukalani rather than Wailuku, right?
Right.
And I'm not judging, I'm just saying we all know. We all know. You're like, oh, okay, you're from Lahaina or whatever it is. You know, education level, how they're feeling that day, you know, mood, but also the physicality of it. I mean, there's all these factors that shape the way we speak, our vocabulary, our pauses, the volume, the stammering, whatever it is. So,
Sure.
you know, I think of specific people.
Okay, that answers that. Last question. It starts off with, I love your columns in Civil Beat. And it says, you've been making some really bold statements. What is your inspiration for your topics and columns, and sometimes taking strong stances, even, you know, seemingly against those in charge? What is your inspiration behind that? But then they start and end it with, we love your columns.
Oh, it's my job. It is my job. I'm a Metro columnist. I've been a Metro columnist since, off and on, since 2000, I guess. And a columnist is supposed to be provocative, and that is to provoke, right? And to provoke is to like get a reaction. So either it's like, hey, I didn't know that, or, you know, Cataluna's crazy, or yeah, I agree with that, or whatever it is. And when I was first hired as a Metro columnist, and I still have my offer letter, the offer letter said, you know, we want you to write the thing that will make somebody slam down the paper, you know, on the kitchen table and go, did you read that? So that is the goal of a Metro columnist, right? Like to not be, you know, just, I don't know, bland, right?
Right.
But you have to factor in all those other things. You have to be fair. You have to be timely. You have to be unbiased in terms of, I could never write something that was completely self-serving, right? Something that would benefit me in any way. And you know, and a Metro columnist is supposed to reflect the sentiment of the town that they cover, you know? And so I listen, I'm a listener. It's that new kid thing, you know, it's being new to a school. Even if I've, you know, lived in Oahu for many years now, you know, I keep my ears open. I go to longs and I listen to what people are saying, and try to shape it into an argument or an observation. You know, it's my job. Me as a person, I'm not that. I'm not that way. You know, I know you won't believe it after listening to me for almost an hour, but I'm very much an introvert. I totally am. I can play an extrovert, but you know, I want to be the kid in the back of the class. I really do. I'll do all my homework.
Right.
Do it. But I don't want you to look at me. I don't want to, you know, I will never raise my hand with the answer. So I'm almost like playing Metro columnist. It's not that I don't believe what I'm writing, but you know, it's not like, I don't walk around like that all the time going, you know, gosh, those people.
Right.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's a function. And a lot of what I believe about being a writer of any genre is a writer is a person that either is a window or a mirror. I mean, what you do with your writing output is either a window or a mirror. And a window is when your reader is looking into a life they don't know or are new to, or an idea they haven't seen, or you know, you're holding up and a mirror is when it's like, this is you.
Yeah.
I'm showing you, I'm reflecting you. So in all, I mean, that's the connection, I guess, either a window or a mirror.
That's great.
So, and sometimes the mirror, people don't like what they see.
Yes.
that really ticks people off.
Right. Yeah. That's very interesting. I hadn't thought of that before. Thank you. Window or mirror. Well, tomorrow when I read your column, I will I
Oh,
will
my
remember
college
that.
course, it's totally safe. I really enjoyed writing the
Oh,
one for the
good.
girl. And it's not going to tick anybody up. I hope. It wasn't
Excellent.
meant to. It's a
Okay,
nice
so
story.
everyone needs to subscribe to Sybil Beat to read it. So I'm just going to give some closing remarks, let people know what's coming up, and we'd like to come back to you and maybe have you close out with another reading of your choice.
Okay, I'll
if
find
that
something.
works for you. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So for all of you who joined in today, we thank you so much for being part of an afternoon with the author, with Lee Cataluna. We thank her for being here. We thank you for being here, and wanted to let you know you can always check out our website at www.nvmc, as in Nisei Veterans Memorial Center, nvmc.org, to find out what's coming up. Our next afternoon with the author is going to be Lois-Ann Yamanaka on October 17th at 1:30. And later this week, we have Kurt Matsumoto from Fulama Lanai coming on to talk about the long Nisei history on Lanai. So that'll be very interesting. Again, we hope you check out our YouTube channel as well, Nisei Veterans Memorial Center YouTube channel. We thank you all for being here with us today. So I'm going to come back to Lee. And again, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it. We know you're busy. We hope you have more reprints of the book and maybe even an updated one to reflect 2020 and 2021. But thanks so much, and I turn it over to you.
Thank you. Oh, okay. This is Nadine again, and this is the one, Nadine and the Old Man with the Pikake. Every morning, 8 o'clock sharp, he come in with his plastic bag full with pikake. If not in bloom, he bring gardenia, but then he apologize about the bugs. If no more flowers his house, he bring plumeria from the school, but then he look little bit shame, like maybe not so good. He put the plumeria on toothpick and go right down the row and give to all the girls. That's his thing. He comes to flirt with the girls. Pretty good for an old fut, I tell Sonia. She says, sad, yeah, since he lost a wife. Sometimes when no more flowers in his yard or windy, he bring papaya. Anything, just so he can go down the line and say hi to all us. Sometimes when he get extra, he give the girls at Bank of Hawaii next door. Or he make us two, one to put in our hair, one to put by our registers. Come to find out. Get one at every Longs. Every store get their old man who bring flowers from his yard. Sometimes they still get the wife, but she look quiet or she don't leave the house. Mostly the wife is gone already and they just get their yard and us. Not like we get time to talk story. Maybe he come behind the counter to put the flower in our hair. Maybe he get one small half hug. Hard because we're so busy. Not like he ever buys anything. When Sonia working, she see him coming. She run fast in the back, get him one cup coffee. If get pastry in the break room, she give him that too. Oh, his face is like he hit the jackpot. I tell her, oh, Sonia, you're so nice. She tell me, stupid. He don't want to be nice. I just getting him some damn coffee and one stale donut.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's a beautiful way to end a Saturday and kind of gives us hope for moving forward and a nice way to start the week. So again, Lee Cataluna, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for all that you do and all that you do for our amazing state. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Maui. I miss you folks.
Come back soon.
I want to come home.
Perfect. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for being with us today. Until next time, we wish you aloha, be well, and stay safe. Aloha.